This is the Sapphire Vapor X R9 280X Tri-X OC. No, I did not make that up. That's the actual product name. So this is a factory overclocked variant of the R9 280X, which in a former life was known as the Radeon HD 7970. This particular unit has a 1000 megahertz clock over the 850 base, and it's a 100 megahertz higher boost clock. So it's got a decent amount. It looks like 18% base clock and 10% extra on the boost clock. So it's a reasonably high clocked unit. I don't actually get a lot of these. I don't see a lot of factory overclocked. Usually the stuff I get is the just the generic versions. So as you can see, this is an absolutely gorgeous card. I keep drooling over the thing. I saw it on eBay for cheap, and I was like, I need that in the collection. So this is a 2014, early 2014 release model. Kind of late in the R9 280X's lifespan, but it's a 2014 release. It is a 3 gigabyte card, same as the 7970 was. And so this particular unit, they are recommending 600 watts, which is pretty typical of GPUs in this kind of generation. They're claiming that it dissipates about 250 watts of heat. It does require a pair of 8 pins, as you can see. So it requires a decent power supply. You're not going to run this on total garbage unless you try to do some really hinky stuff that you probably shouldn't be trying to do. So as we can see here, pretty much all these video cards, same configuration for these generations, both NVIDIA and AMD. They've got the dual DVIs plus the DisplayPort and HDMI. So for the time, it's got a decent I/O capability. So, triple fan, as you can see, and a ton of copper heat pipes. Most of these kind of cool designs do have a lot of copper in them. So anyway, let's look a little more at the card, and then we'll jump into a little bit of background on the testing and stuff we're going to do, and then we'll jump into some game testing. Okay, so there we have it, the star of our show. So I wanted to go over a few things before we jumped into the game testing on this one. First of all, we're going to do shorter game tests. We're going to do 2 to 3 minutes apiece, trying to show as intensive things as we can. So basically give you just 2 or 3 minute snippets of the most intense gameplay as far as graphics demand. So we can kind of say, okay, this is what it's going to do, 2 minutes of the highest strain on the GPU. And then you can assume that whatever you see is probably going to be better than that in all but those kind of circumstances. That's going to allow me to shorten these videos a little bit. And it's also going to allow me to shove more gameplay for a larger variety of games. I'm trying to do 2-year increments on game releases for each GPU. So, 4 years before and 6 years after, something like that. So we're testing it today on this. This is my my test rig that I've been using lately for all of these kind of mid-age video cards. So stuff from 2011 to probably Maxwell 900 series. Those will probably put on either a 6700 or 7700K, but these cards from, like I said, 2011, so you're talking Radeon HD 7970 to /GeForce GTX 680, all the way up to maybe some low-end 9 series stuff. There'll be some overlap, but I'm trying to kind of test them in their natural habitat. We're not really trying to see what would happen if we give them an insane processor today. That's a different video. I'll do those separately. But so we've got a i7 4790K, 32 gigs of RAM. It's got a big ass CPU cooler on it to keep it nice and cool so the chip can run as fast as it wants. High-end board. And then the card itself, you already saw, it's probably one of the most gorgeous GPUs you're going to see. It's got this absolutely awesome kind of blue and black look to it, even on the back. I think they tried to make this look like a Ferrari on the back. It's got these little Ferrari bumper-esque things going on. So it is a very good looking GPU. I wish I had a like an R9. I wish my R9 390X looked like this. This is what I'd like my 390X to look like. Maybe this, but slightly larger. But anyway, we've taken a look at the card. We've gone over test setup. So let's jump into the game testing now. Have some fun and see what you can expect out of the R9 280X. This is Cyberpunk 2077. So take a look at our settings. We are running 1080p. We have FSR with FSR3 frame gen running, and we are on medium settings. So as I have said before with some of these generations of GPUs, this is upscaling used properly. So we have a GPU that just straight up could not play this game at any reasonable setting level that's transformed into a GPU that can play this game at a somewhat reasonable setting level. It's not gorgeous, it's not great, but it is playable. And actually, we could probably get even a little more out of it than we are here if we really wanted to. But it's definitely playable. And it definitely has a decent look to it. It's not so bad that it compromises the overall intended look and feel of the game. It does start to go downhill if you're running at if you're running a larger monitor. So if you're running like a 32-inch 1440 or something like that, or even like a 27-inch 1440, and you're putting it at 1080, it's not going to look the greatest. But it's also not that bad either. So I'm definitely going to say playable on this one. And it's interesting because there's actually some newer games that will not run at a playable level. But Cyberpunk's kind of interesting because it can go a lot higher than other games as far as system requirements. You can crank the settings all the way up, but it's also on the flip side, it's able to go a lot lower than a lot of other modern games as well. And it has all the upscaling tech integrated, which some of the newer ones don't have. And so you're able to take older hardware like this and really push it and get a playable experience on games that you really shouldn't be able to, considering that this GPU came out in, I don't know, 2013. So that's a 12-year-old video card. That was 7 years old when Cyberpunk came out, and this is the current version of Cyberpunk 2. This is 2.1 or 2.21 or whatever the most recent revision is. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this look at Cyberpunk 2077, and let's move on. This is Crysis Warhead. So, taking a look, we are currently running maxed settings 1080p. It's called Enthusiast, but it is the ultra setting on this game. So, it's running pretty well. You look up at the left-hand corner, unfortunately, there isn't a full MSI afterburner readout like I normally get. There are occasional hiccups. I'm not sure what's causing it, to be honest, because I haven't seen it before, and with how well the video card is otherwise running, it could be the game running off the hard drive, but I haven't seen it before, so I'm not really sure what's causing it. I think we're supposed to go get in that thing. We do now. No? Oh, are there more North Koreans? What do we got here? How did he get past all our dudes? I think you're supposed to kill all these guys. Oh, there's like a bunch of them. See, there it goes again. But aside from whatever's causing that, it's really quite good. This is based on the original Crysis, which is known to have some pretty demanding... I think we're supposed to keep that guy alive. Oh, he's still alive. Man, they're like everywhere. Yeah, maybe it would be a good idea if we just like took off. Oh, did we do it? Get in the VTOL. Okay, we get to go. Okay, so this should give you a pretty good idea of Crysis. Thanks for watching. This is Metro 2033. So let's take a look at our settings. And this is the Redux version. I'm still considering it a 2010 game, though, because I find that, generally speaking, the game engine is the same when they do any sort of mods to the game. So I'm considering it, as far as overall capabilities, to be the original 2010 game. So 1080p, settings are completely maxed out. I did find that it will run at 1440, but I'm trying to provide a look at a 1080p experience, because it is true that this card is going to run some of the older games fine at 1440. In fact, this might even be able to run at 4K on this machine. But I'm trying to show a consistent. I honestly don't think that you should base your monitor selection either on one game running particularly well, so that's part of it as well. This is one I haven't played much. Honestly, I don't really enjoy this one. I find it too, I don't know, scripted. Like, they have very specific things they want you to do, and then it takes you back to the base, and then you go out, and it's like you go out on these individual missions or something. I'm not a huge fan. But it's an interesting look at a game for the generation. This was considered, I believe, a fairly high-end game at the time. Obviously, with the frame rate we're running at 1080 with it maxed out, there's quite a bit of space to be able to do whatever you want to do. Go up on resolution, go down and run it at 4K, but this is kind of a baseline just to show you what to expect. Why are we killing other people? I thought humans were like almost extinct. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoy that look at Metro 2033, and let's move on to the next one. This is Call of Duty Black Ops 2. So, taking a look at the settings, we are running at 1080p resolution. Oh, I didn't know you could have those. I thought those were two separate things. Let's see here. And we're trying to max everything out. I think that's all maxed out. So, no. Okay, yep, totally maxed. So, clearly with the frame rate we are running here, this is a very solid experience. You have a ton of space on this to go anywhere you want. You can go up on the resolution. You can go, well, I mean, the only place to go is up. There's nowhere to go other than up. You're already maxed on settings, so it's not like you're going to go, okay, what are we doing here? I don't even know what I'm targeting. Oh, we're supposed to target those. Oh. Did I get it? Okay. Oh, I think I only get... Oh, okay, so you can go back around. This thing's hard to steer. Yeah, there's nowhere to go down. You're maxed on settings, and you're already hitting 120 plus FPS, which on a game like this is absolutely unnecessary. You do not need over... Realistically, on a game like this, it's probably fine at, I don't know, 60, 55. So you're literally running double the FPS that you actually need. So in real world, if you're running a higher resolution monitor, I mean, you could run this. This would look awesome on just like an old non-gaming 4K monitor, to be honest. So anyway, I think that's more than sufficient to see where this game sits. So let's get on to the next one. This is Far Cry 4. So let's take a look. Running... Oops, I want video. So I have it turned as high as I could figure to get the settings. Everything's on ultra. Everything's turned up. Everything's on. And I have the field of view turned as wide as it'll go. So this is the first time I've actually used this on a system that could really handle it. Typically, this is one that I test on systems that can't run any of the newer stuff, but this is a system that can actually run it. It's kind of crazy how big the visual difference is between this and Far Cry 5. Do I need to kill these? Die, kitty. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, I'm supposed to be helping the rebels. You always help the rebels. Are these good guys? Bad guys? I guess I'll know if he shoots at me. You gonna shoot at me, buddy? Okay, you have to die now. Sorry, bruh. Yeah, this is a pretty solid experience. It's definitely not Far Cry 5, that's for sure. Far Cry 5 was the first one I ever actually played. At least it seems to have maybe more in common with that than the older versions. I don't know. It looks it looks nice though. I think this is a 2014 game, so I definitely don't think it's the best looking 2014 game, but you could certainly turn the settings down a good bit to get your frame rate up a little bit further. But I think we were running... Was it 10? Yeah, we're okay. So I do have it on 1080. There's certainly space here to turn your settings down in order to get higher frame rate and or higher resolution. But this gives you a good idea of what kind of the baseline experience on this is on your general, like you're on a 24-inch 1080p, 27-inch 1080p gaming monitor, something like that. This should give you a good idea of the kind of experience to expect. This is Deus Ex Mankind Divided. So, taking a look at the settings, we're actually running it fairly low. We're at medium settings. Yeah, nothing's turned up. And we're also running, I believe, 1080p. Yeah. So this is, let's see. Yeah, lowest level of anti-aliasing. So this is actually a more demanding game than I had expected it to be. I like the wide field of view. It's holding fairly solid. It doesn't seem to really need a high frame rate to run smooth, so I'm going to leave it, even though the frame rates are a little lower than I'd like. The visuals are already also a lot lower than I'd like, so I don't really want to... What's going on here? What am I supposed to do here? I don't really want to turn it down any lower than this. I'm actually, yeah, I'm surprised this doesn't run better than it does. I genuinely would not have expected this to run this poorly. What am I supposed to do here? Oh yeah, I think I'm supposed to do this. So I think you're supposed to dig around in the apartment here. And this is, look, that can't be good. We just broke into their apartment and they're okay with it. Okay then. Oh, good luck with that. Right. Oh, I think I'm in the wrong apartment. Let's see here. Oops. So this should give kind of a good idea of what to expect. It's definitely... It's definitely not a game that you're going to be running on older hardware at, you know, reasonably decent settings. It's just, it appears to be a more demanding game, even though it is on the older side. But that's our look at Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Let's move on. This is Red Dead Redemption 2, and it is very borderline. I do not know if I could recommend it. It seems to be holding steady, 29, 30, that kind of thing. I guess if you go out here in the snow and there's nothing to draw, it goes a little higher, but I mean, it's not... I don't know. I tend to have a high tolerance for low frame rate, but the settings are turned down. I went almost as low as I could go. I don't want to run any lower than 1080. If I got to run it lower than 1080, I'm going to call it unplayable. At least for the purposes of this testing. The only other thing that I can do is go a little lower on this. So let's see what it does. It probably won't help the frame rate much either, I bet. Yeah, no, I mean, it did a little bit, like a couple of frames, but it's just too demanding of a game on a there, like the R9 290X might be able to just barely do it, but the 280, I think you're just up against too much. Certainly, if you have a high tolerance... Did my horse just die? My horse just died. What is this nonsense? What? Didn't know that could happen. I'm going to say it's playable, but really just barely. I wouldn't recommend it. I think you're compromising the experience by trying to play it on this. Oh, look, I'm going to die of freezing cold. Am I going to make it? Oh, come on. Get in. Go. The door's probably locked. Oh, that's funny. So you didn't even have to go inside. All you had to do was get close to the thing, and it regenerated you. That's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one at this. I'm going to say I'm going to recommend against it, but it's, if you've got a high tolerance, it's on the edge, but probably playable. But again, I don't recommend it.